T minus 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What you know about this life? Yeah. Just relax, baby, get high. Yeah, you're on your way to the best night ever. No top on the, no top.
Okay, welcome back. This one's going to be a lot shorter than my other one, so don't worry about that. I already recapped the last of the regular season. I'm recording this during the Monday night game, but everything is locked in matchup-wise, so thought I'd just recap the last 2 weeks for the first round of the playoffs, and then kind of give a preview of the matchups going into next week. So, in the playoffs, the number 1 seed has been defeated. Our reigning champion will not be a 2-time champion, as Jacob lost to Thomas. A cumulative score of 265 to 222. It was just a rough couple of weeks for Jacob's team. He didn't have a lot of depth, and that kind of came back to bite him. He had some tough matchups also with his 2-star quarterbacks playing the Patriots. So Mahomes only combined for 31 points in 2 weeks. And then Watson, he's actually still really good. He carried you quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, just in general, Jacob, your team struggled. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, he got hurt last week against Seattle. That was tough. Mark Ingram couldn't really do much. Tyler Lockett's been terrible. You had to start Jamison Crowder. That's never really a good sign. And Thomas, once again, your team just kind of kills with consistency. Aaron Jones finally had a big game for you this most recent week. Zeke kind of just did what he does, got you 22. Michael Thomas, once again, he got you 26.9 after weirdly sucking against the Falcons last week. And then Tyler Higbee, a last-second start, got you 18.1. So yeah, Thomas is heading to the championship. I will say this, Thomas, you're my pick. Your roster is just stacked. And the team you're going to be facing, their roster's not. So I'll just get on to the next one, which is Michael defeated Bobby. 2 seed beat the 3 seed. Michael scored 251 over the 2-week stretch. Bobby scored 237. Yeah, I mean, both you guys, your rosters are pretty weak-ass. I don't really have a lot to say about either of you. Bobby, you once again got bailed out by your Cowboy players, and McCaffrey does his thing. Really, what this matchup came down to, it was close. Michael came back down 30 from week 13. There's kind of a key position on each side that really won Michael the matchup and lost Bobby, and that is Joe Mixon for Michael and the Chicago Bears defense for Bobby. Now, I can't really think why. There's some correlation there, but yeah, the Bears defense got you -1 points this week and 5 points last week. The Bears defense finished as the number 14 defense in the league, which isn't great considering there's only 8 of us. So yeah, that defense, that kind of killed you. And then Joe Mixon, who had, kind of a quiet season, he got 15 points in week 13, and then he just exploded for 29 points this week. He finished as the running back 13, which is pretty damn good, actually. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that you ended up only losing by 14 points, Bobby, and yet Michael had this running back that scored 29, and this defense that you had scored -1. Interesting. That being said, Michael is moving on to the playoffs, or the championship. just quickly looking over at the rosters, both of you guys have some good matchups going into the last week. Also, outside of like T.Y. Hilton, pretty much all your guys are both healthy. So you guys should be pretty much at full strength. Thomas, I'm worried about your quarterbacks because they are really, really bad. Fortunately, Kyler Murray plays Cleveland and Seattle. Jared Goff, he plays Dallas and San Francisco, so that's a little more scary. But, yeah, should be a good championship. Again, I feel like, Michael, you should 100% not win. But based off of how this whole season has been going and how incredibly lucky you've been, I have no doubt that your luck compared with Thomas's inability to start his best and highest scoring players, you'll probably somehow win once again. If you do, I will be filing a collusion charge to impeach you as commissioner. I expect the backing of the league should that happen. The matchup for third place, I don't really care. It's going to be Jacob versus Bobby, but who gives a fuck? Now, to the losers bracket. I scored 300 points this week. I beat Cam 300 to 212. My team did all right. I just want to point out my team scored more points than anyone who's in the playoffs right now, meaning I would be playing in the championship if I had made it. Nick Hill, I'm also going to do a little insult to injury for you, because if you had made the playoffs instead of Thomas as the 4th seed, you scored 258 points, which means that you would have still beaten Jacob. It also means that you scored more points than Michael and Bobby's teams. So just kind of let that simmer. Cam, your team struggled. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about your team. My team played really well. Both weeks were pretty good for me. Your team not so much. I know you traded away a bunch of people. You do have 2 really good running backs who have just been ass these last 6 weeks. So who knows? Maybe they have kind of a big breakout towards the end. Kamara plays Indy and Tennessee. I feel like that's not great matchups. And then Barkley, he plays Miami and Washington. So 2 great matchups for him. Hopefully he can get going. You have the dark horse MVP candidate in Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. Also, Jameis threw 3 interceptions and still got you 36 points this week, so that's pretty impressive. Yeah, other than that, you are going on to the toilet bowl, and then I am going to be moving on for the 5th place consolation matchup. And I'll be facing Nick Hill, who beat Andrew. Andrew, your team scored 219. Again, Nick Hill, your team scored 258. Just kind of same old. Andrew, your team didn't do great. Drew Brees had an amazing game. But yeah, you and Cam, once again, were the 2 lowest scores over the 2 weeks. If nothing else, you guys are both consistently bad, so that's kind of impressive. Nick, your team played pretty well. That's with Russell Wilson and Tom Brady not playing well at all. Derrick Henry is a beast. He's really good. Pretty awesome. So Nick, me and you are going to be playing in the winner, I guess the championship of the losers bracket. The significance of this is that our draft odds, or I guess the determining factor for who gets the number 1 pick and so on, is done off of a lottery system, somewhat resembling the NBA's lottery. As kind of an incentive to teams, the winner of the losers bracket gets the best odds of getting the number 1 pick. And then obviously second place in the losers bracket gets second best odds, and so on from there. This is to just discourage outright tanking. So, Nick, I know we're not in the playoffs, but we are competing for the best odds at the number 1 pick, which is going to be pretty valuable. There should still be some really good players hitting the draft, so I think it'll be exciting. It's cool, we finished right around the same spot in the standings. Our points for and points against were right around the same. I feel like our teams are pretty evenly matched. That being said, I'm going to win, but should be a good 2 weeks. And then that brings us to the Toilet Bowl. It's going to be Cam versus Andrew. Again, they faced off in Week 12. It was kind of some foreshadowing. Just as a review, Cam won 135 to 126. Should be a good game. I mean, it's a lot on the line. Heavy stakes. Some of the punishments are pretty savage this year. My money is on Cam's team. Andrew, you've had some bad luck with injuries. Mike Evans is I don't know how serious he's hurt. Oh, he's very doubtful. So yeah, that's a bummer for you. Also, your stable of old man running backs has surprisingly not been very productive. Which is really shocking to hear that a bunch of 28 and 29-year-old running backs with a lot of career carries and stuff, that they're not effective runners anymore. I don't know how that works, but that's just kind of been how it's gone for you. Also, Evan Ingram and Adam Thielen are out. Thielen, yep, no news on him. And then, yeah, Evan Ingram is non-committal on returning for the season. It doesn't really bode super well. Again, Le'Veon Bell is out. He did practice on full on Monday, though, so we'll see. Should be an epic matchup of the biggest losers. And then, championship should be a great matchup between Thomas and Michael. I expect we'll do one more recap after the championship, recapping kind of everything. With that being said, it has been a pleasure, been a great year. I'm glad people have traded and communicated and talk shit and all that other stuff. If I can just reiterate one thing before I sign off, it's you guys are all just terrible fantasy football managers. In one way or another, you were either gifted with good players or incredibly lucky one way or another. Should be me in the championship. This is an outrage, and it will not stand. Thank you.